Imagine you're an alien or, maybe some kind of conceptual time traveler.
Okay, I like that premise.
Right. And you're just hovering in orbit, looking down at Earth for the last, 4 billion years.
A long stakeout.
Exactly. And for 99.9% of that time, honestly, nothing happens.
Nothing you can really see from space anyway.
Right. You watch the continents drift around. You see ice ages kind of come and go. You see these dense green jungles rise up and then, get completely wiped out by asteroids.
But mostly it's just this endless grind of survival, right?
Yeah, exactly. Plants, dinosaurs, those early mammals.
Yeah.
Just a long, totally silent planetary grind.
Right.
And then in the literally the blink of a cosmic eye, the very last fraction of a second on this massive 4 billion year clock boom,
Everything changes.
the whole nighttime side of the planet just lights up with these sprawling megacities. We've got metal tubes crossing the oceans in hours.
Splitting the atom.
Yes.
Putting satellites into orbit. So the real question is, what exactly happened in that tiny fraction of a second to just completely alter the trajectory of a whole planet?
It's a huge question.
It is. And today, in this deep dive, we are looking at a really fascinating source document that says the answer to that question is not, the discovery of fire or the invention of the wheel or even our opposable thumbs, which usually get all the credit.
Right, the classic explanations.
Yeah. The source says the real answer is the creation of a biological internet.
And that perspective is really what makes this document, it's called The Intelligence Revolution, so compelling.
It really is.
The author uses this idea of the conceptual time traveler, not just as a fun science fiction trope.
Right. It's more than that.
It's a deliberate rhetorical device. It's a thought experiment designed to completely strip away our inherent human biases.
Because we're so used to looking at it from the inside.
Exactly. When you look at human history from the inside, you measure progress by physical stuff, by artifacts.
Like digging up an old spearhead? Yeah, or mapping out a slightly larger ancient city foundation and we go, look, progress.
Right, we love our ancient foundations.
But the time traveler, looking from the outside, they don't care about our buildings at all.
They don't even register them.
Right. They see that the real story of humanity is actually the evolution of intelligence itself.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because rather than just jumping straight to artificial intelligence and, quantum computers, the source insists we really have to understand how biological intelligence built the world around you in the first place.
We have to understand the hardware we're running on right now.
Right. We have to get the baseline before we can talk about the upgrade.
And what's really fascinating here is how the document frames the sheer scale of biological history. Like you mentioned, for billions of years, life existed without civilization.
It's totally stagnant.
Because biological evolution is agonizingly slow. I mean, it relies on random genetic mutations.
Right, trial and error over millions of years.
Exactly. If a species needs to, say, run faster to survive a new predator, it basically has to wait thousands of generations for the right physical traits to just naturally emerge.
Which is terribly inefficient.
Very. But then humanity emerged with this completely unique workaround.
Game changer.
Yeah, we developed what the text calls collective intelligence. The idea that civilization is not just a collection of individual isolated brains working in a vacuum.
Right.
It actually functions as a giant shared memory.
And this is where we really need to dive into the actual mechanics of how this works. Because, we casually throw around the phrase shared memory all the time.
Sure.
But the document is talking about an actual literal data transfer protocol.
Yes, exactly.
Early humans figured out how to use complex language and then later writing to literally download their life experiences directly into the brains of other humans.
It's incredible when you frame it that way.
Right. Like imagine a hunter learns that a certain berry is poisonous. Before language, when that hunter dies, that knowledge just dies with him.
Gone forever.
Yeah. The next generation basically has to eat the berry and die to learn the exact same lesson.
A terrible learning curve.
Right. But with collective intelligence, he just tells his tribe, hey, don't eat the red berries. And the knowledge survives the death of the individual biological container.
That is the pivotal shift right there.
Yeah.
The brain suddenly becomes just one node in this vast network.
A node, exactly.
Every single invention builds upon previous inventions. Every new discovery totally requires the discoveries that came before.
We couldn't do it alone.
We basically moved from genetic evolution, which takes millennia, to Mimetic evolution.
Yeah.
The evolution of ideas.
Which can happen in a single generation.
Exactly.
I hear that, and it makes sense, but I have to push back a little on our whole cultural narrative around this.
Oh, the lone genius idea.
Yes. If civilization is just this giant shared memory, why are we, as a culture, so utterly obsessed with the lone genius?
It's a fair question.
Like, we build statues of single inventors in city squares. We name entire eras of physics after one guy. We idolize the individual.
We really do.
So if the network is doing all the heavy lifting, why is our history always taught as just a series of great isolated individuals?
Well, let's not entirely dismiss the individual.
No.
The source does acknowledge that people like Isaac Newton or Albert Einstein were undeniably profoundly brilliant.
Oh, sure, obviously.
The issue is really our perception of proportion.
How so?
We idolize individuals because individuals are visible.
Hmm.
You can see a person. You can look at a painting of them. You can read a biography about their daily habits.
Right, they have a face.
Exactly. The network, on the other hand, is completely invisible.
Yeah, that's true.
We can't easily visualize the millions of incremental thoughts or the failed experiments or just the casual conversations spanning centuries that actually led up to that breakthrough.
The document brings up Isaac Newton, actually, and his famous quote about standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yes, perfect example.
The time traveler character views that quote not just as, like, false modesty, but as a literal factual description of how progress works.
He was just stating a fact.
Right. Newton's brilliance was just the final 1% of 100% effort. He provided the spark, sure.
But the network provided the fuel.
Exactly. The invisible network of mathematicians and astronomers over thousands of years provided all the kindling for that fire.
And neuroscience actually confirms this network model, especially when we look at brain plasticity.
Oh, this part is fascinating.
It really is. We often think of the human brain as this standalone computer, complete with its own operating system right from birth.
Like it's just ready to go.
Right. But humans are uniquely born neurologically premature.
Compared to other animals, you mean?
Yes. Compare a human infant to a horse, for example.
Oh, yeah.
A foal can literally walk and run within hours of being born. Its brain comes completely preloaded with survival instincts.
Meanwhile, a human baby can do absolutely nothing.
Exactly nothing.
The text calls this the blank slate concept, which is just incredibly profound when you think about the mechanism behind it.
It's an evolutionary trade-off.
Right. We trade physical readiness for raw neuroplasticity. A newborn baby today knows absolutely zero about mathematics or medicine or engineering.
Nothing at all.
But because they are a blank slate, their brain is highly optimized to just absorb the shared memory.
The child doesn't have to reinvent the wheel or rediscover how to make fire.
They just download it.
They are born completely ready to connect to the network. It's a biological transfer mechanism that allowed humanity to dominate the whole planet without ever having to evolve bigger muscles or sharper teeth.
We outsourced our survival to the shared memory.
Exactly.
So I want you, the listener, to consider your own knowledge for a second. Think about everything you understand about the modern world.
It's a lot when you really think about it.
Right, how a combustion engine works, the fact that bacteria cause infections, or honestly, even just how to read the alphabet.
You didn't invent any of that.
No, you didn't figure any of that out on your own through trial and error. Almost every single piece of data in your head right now was gifted to you by this invisible network.
And that profound, total reliance on the biological network brings us to the fundamental bottleneck of our species.
Because there's a catch.
A huge catch.
Yeah.
The time traveler observes that while this biological download process gave us the planet, it is officially hitting a hard physical limit.
Right, because there are actual physical constraints to biology. I mean, the human skull can only get so large before human birth becomes physically impossible.
Exactly. We maxed out the hardware size.
Yeah, and chemical synapses in the brain, they can only fire so fast. And maybe most importantly, it takes roughly 2 decades of intense schooling to download a baseline education into a single new human being.
20 years.
20 years, just to get a single node up to speed.
It's a massive bottleneck.
So if biology is the bottleneck that's holding back the giant shared memory, what actually happens when we finally bypass that physical speed limit?
We trigger the cognitive revolution.
Boom.
We enter an era where, for the very first time in the entire history of life on Earth, intelligence is no longer restricted to a biological container.
It's out of the box.
It is no longer reliant on slow chemical synapses or those 20-year educational cycles.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, We can look at historical precedents to really understand the sheer magnitude of what bypassing biology actually means.
History is a good guide here.
The source draws a really heavy comparison to the Industrial Revolution.
Yes.
Because before we built steam engines, physical labor was completely capped by biology. Like, if you wanted to move a massive stone, your only option was to add more human muscles, or horse muscles, or maybe oxen.
You were capped by calories and fatigue.
Right.
But the Industrial Revolution allowed us to just completely outsource our muscles. We created machines that could lift thousands of times more weight than any human.
Working 24 hours a day.
Exactly. Without any fatigue,
Right.
and they burn coal instead of calories.
Mhm.
It completely radically altered the physical landscape of the planet.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Go for it.
The intelligence revolution does the exact same thing, but for cognitive labor. We are now outsourcing our ability to process information, to recognize massive patterns, and to solve incredibly complex problems. We're moving from the speed of biology to the speed of light.
And the mechanism of acceleration is the crucial factor here.
How so?
Well, think about how biological learning is restricted by the individual. If a brilliant doctor spends a whole lifetime learning how to identify a super rare cancer on an MRI, that knowledge essentially dies with them,
Unless they teach someone.
right? Unless they spend years teaching a handful of students.
Which again takes decades.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But a non-biological intelligence, like a machine learning model, it can analyze 1,000,000 MRIs in an afternoon.
Right.
It learns the pattern, and then it instantly duplicates that expertise to literally every single hospital on the planet simultaneously.
Wow. It takes that giant shared memory we talked about and just straps a limitless hyperdrive to it.
It's unprecedented.
It's no longer just about preserving knowledge, right? It's about actively synthesizing it faster than a human brain could ever even comprehend.
Faster than we can even track.
Yeah. But the time traveler in our source document isn't just like taking a victory lap about how great the technology is.
No, definitely not a utopian manifesto.
Right. Because when power scales up that drastically, the risks scale exponentially right alongside it.
And historically, any dramatic increase in capability always brings a proportional increase in risk.
Always.
The document outlines some serious concerns, things like the hyperconcentration of power, the potential for severe economic disruption, and just entirely unintended consequences of systems we don't fully understand.
Which is terrifying.
It is, but the Time Travelers makes a really fundamental observation here.
Yeah.
The technology itself is entirely neutral.
It is so tempting, though, to assign morality to the tools,
Yeah.
Say a certain algorithm is inherently bad or good.
We do it all the time.
Yeah. But the source strips all of that away.
Let's consider the concept of scale for a second.
Okay.
Giving humanity advanced artificial intelligence while we still harbor these ancient, basically tribal instincts is a profound mismatch.
A dangerous mismatch.
Very. The issue isn't the technology at all. The issue is the wisdom of the entity operating it.
The analogy that just perfectly captures this mismatch for me is imagining giving a Roman emperor a modern nuclear submarine.
Oh, that's a great visual.
Right. Because the danger in that scenario isn't the nuclear reactor,
No,
and it isn't the torpedoes. The submarine functions perfectly.
it's doing exactly what it was built to do.
Exactly. The danger is that the emperor's entire psychological framework is based on conquering neighboring tribes for grain and glory.
Right, his worldview is totally incompatible with the tool.
Yes. The technology is vastly out of sync with his philosophical understanding of the world.
This raises an important question about how we historically respond to these massive paradigm shifts.
We don't usually handle them well.
No, we don't. The text notes that traditional systems of belief and societal structures have very often reacted to new forms of understanding with just profound fear.
We really don't have a great track record with having our egos bruised.
Not at all.
Look at what happened when Copernicus suggested the Earth wasn't the center of the universe.
A total meltdown.
Or when Darwin suggested human beings weren't placed here entirely separate from the rest of the animal kingdom.
Right.
Those ideas caused massive existential crises because they directly threatened our sense of uniqueness.
And exactly that pattern is repeating right now.
Do you think so?
Oh, absolutely. Advanced intelligence is very often framed as a threat to human uniqueness, or even, a challenge to our perceived dominance.
Like we're being replaced.
Right.
Yeah.
If humanity is no longer the sole possessor of advanced pattern recognition and problem solving, it forces us to really reconsider our place in the hierarchy.
Yeah.
People naturally fear that if machines are smarter, humans just become irrelevant.
But the source asks us to completely reframe that perspective. because viewing this as a zero-sum game where the AI's gain is somehow our loss is really just a failure of imagination.
It's too narrow of a view.
Right. What if these new forms of intelligence aren't a looming threat to our uniqueness? What if, instead, they are the ultimate partners?
Because the human experience cannot be reduced to mere data processing.
Thank goodness.
Right. Artificial intelligence may vastly outperform us in parsing millions of data points or, calculating probabilities.
Yeah.
But intelligence is really only one facet of consciousness.
We possess traits that you simply cannot program into a server rack.
Exactly.
We have this desperate search for meaning. We experience grief and empathy and joy.
Things that can't be computed.
Exactly. We build relationships based on shared vulnerability. I mean, a machine can analyze the chemical composition of a tear perfectly.
Down to the molecule.
Right. But it cannot understand the heartbreak that actually caused it to fall.
No, it can't.
And the document argues that these unquantifiable traits are the absolute core of our existence.
Which leads us to maybe the most promising concept in the entire source material. Collaborative intelligence.
I love this concept.
It's the deliberate synthesis of human strengths with machine strengths.
The ultimate team up.
Exactly. You take human values, our intrinsic search for meaning, our ethical boundaries, and you pair all of that with limitless analytical brute force.
It is the ultimate division of labor. We basically provide the why, and the AI provides the how.
Beautifully put.
And when you combine those two forces, the horizon of what is actually possible fundamentally shifts.
It blows wide open.
Yeah. The source details how this partnership could tackle problems that we currently categorize as permanently impossible.
And the mechanism of how this works is so vital to understand here.
Like with medicine.
Yes. Take the curing of disease or the potential to actually halt biological aging.
Which sounds crazy.
It sounds like magic. But biological evolution is simply too slow to understand its own complex genetic code. The human brain literally cannot hold the billions of variables required to deeply understand protein folding and its working memory.
We just don't have the RAM.
Exactly. But an AI doesn't just read medical data. It runs millions of biochemical simulations in an hour.
Wow.
Humans define the goal. Hey, let's eliminate cellular decay, and the AI provides the computational brute force required to actually find the pathway.
We define the destination, and the AI calculates the route.
Exactly.
And this applies to everything.
Yeah.
Like designing a completely abundant, clean global energy grid. That requires balancing infinite variables of weather and load and battery storage across multiple continents simultaneously.
There's too much data.
Right. It is a math problem way too big for human heads. But it's trivial for a planetary scale intelligence.
The text provides a really vital historical anchor right here regarding the word impossible.
Oh, right.
Because the impossible is rarely a law of physics. It is almost always just a problem waiting for a better tool.
Think about the airplane. If you went back to the 18th century and told the absolutely brightest minds of the era that soon hundreds of people would sit in a metal tube and fly across the Atlantic Ocean while eating a warm meal,
They'd lock you up.
they would call you a lunatic. It would sound like pure, unadulterated fantasy.
Complete magic.
But today, the impossible is literally just a Tuesday commute.
Right.
The source is arguing that our current impossible problems, things like aging, scarcity, disease, they will seem just as trivial to future generations running on collaborative intelligence.
The future very often arrives disguised as fantasy.
That's a great way to put it.
What sounds like science fiction to us today may simply be the baseline reality of tomorrow.
But
But the caveat in the source material is immense.
huge.
The realization of that future is entirely dependent on our ability to successfully integrate this power without just tearing ourselves apart.
Which brings us to the ultimate stakes outlined by the time traveler. We are not just coasting on a path of inevitable utopian progress.
Definitely not coasting.
No. We are standing at one of the most critical crossroads in the entire history of our species.
The stakes presented in the document are binary in outcome, yet just endlessly complex in execution.
What do you mean by binary?
Well, if we succeed in cultivating the wisdom to manage this collaborative intelligence, it basically becomes the ultimate engine of civilization.
Right.
Poverty, disease, resource scarcity, these are essentially just complex logistical and scientific problems. With enough intelligence applied, they can actually be solved.
And if our wisdom fails to keep pace?
If we fail, The technology will act as a giant planetary magnifying glass.
Oh,
It will
wow.
take our existing flaws, our tribalism, our greed, our deep inequalities, and amplify them to a scale we simply cannot survive.
Because the blast radius is planetary now.
Exactly. A hyper-intelligent system directed by a fractured, selfish human operator doesn't solve scarcity. It just perfects exploitation.
Right. The technology is neutral. The outcome rests entirely on our choices.
100%.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
That's the big question.
It means recognizing that the invisible network that built the modern world is fundamentally changing its architecture. Technology only opens doors.
It doesn't walk through them for us.
No, it doesn't force us to walk through them, and it absolutely does not choose the destination. Humanity has to cultivate the wisdom to decide which door we walk through together.
We are moving toward a profound transition. We are basically attempting to merge the biological network that survived the last few million years with a non-biological network that could literally take us anywhere in the
It's
universe.
staggering.
We aren't just changing the tools of civilization, we are potentially transforming the nature of the species itself.
We started this deep dive by talking about how progress isn't physical. It's the evolution of that giant shared memory passed down from generation to generation.
Right.
But looking through the eyes of the time traveler, I want to leave you with a completely different thought to turn over in your mind.
Okay.
If we successfully integrate our human meaning, our art, and our emotions with a limitless, immortal artificial intelligence, an intelligence that will outlive our fragile biology by 1 billion years, are we simply the biological caterpillar that existed solely to birth a digital butterfly? When the time traveler looks back at Earth in another 1 million years, who will be the real inheritor of the planet? Until next time, keep digging.